Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laid Back Life podcast, where we talk about how to love life, entrepreneurship, and improve daily. Joining me today, a longtime good friend, my sports dad mentor, Morris Lilienthal. For those of you that don't know him, he's a husband, proud dad, and successful trial lawyer with Martinson and Beeson in Huntsville, Alabama. Outside the courtroom, he's the host of The Mo Show Live, where he spotlights inspiring stories of leadership, community, and giving back, which is so underselling it, my friend. You have so many good stories and impact that you have made with The Mo Show Live. I'm so excited to hear more of those. He's also a lifelong sports fan and former college football player, bringing that same competitive drive and team spirit to everything he does, whether it's fighting for clients, supporting local causes, or cheering on his kids from the sidelines. Mo, my man.
Jordan, thank you so much for having me on today. It's a real honor to be here. I always enjoy connecting with you online and offline. And when we just recently connected at a conference, it's great to see you in person. And I'm looking forward to today's discussion.
And I mean what I said earlier about my sports dad mentor here. Mo will tell you the amount of Facebook messages. I'm like, oh my God, my kid got 2 hits in T-ball. Like, please don't let me get in the habit. He's going to join the Major League Baseball out of this. Like, please talk me down. Be reasonable with me here. So,
Well, we
appreciate
all fall into that trap a little bit, but yeah, we have to keep each other in check. And the main thing is to not be that dad or that mom at the game that everybody else is like, ooh.
Yes. All right. So last week we had Jen Gore on. Jen talked to us about living your highest potential. She talked to us about the Steve Harvey Project 300. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, Mo.
I'm not, no.
Okay, so like Steve Harvey has this thing. He's like, write down 300 things that you want to have, do, or be by the time you pass away. So it's sort of a bucket list, but
Okay.
by making it 300, you really force yourself like out of I've been doing this for 3 weeks. I have 262 things on my 300 list. I cannot, like, I'm forcing myself to try to finish it. And in the meantime, I've crossed 2 off of my list of the 262. It was such a good, easy way to really help people figure out what their potential looks like. So great episode. Check that one out with Jen after this, because we've got
Absolutely.
Mo here. So I'm curious, in terms of like, I think you're a great dad. You listed proud dad. What does that mean though?
Well, it means a lot to me. I mean, I don't want to sound like the broken record in the saying that, but it's true to me. It really hits home with me is that, I love what I do. I love being a lawyer. I love being a trial lawyer. I love helping people. I love interacting with people and taking a tragedy that's just befallen them and trying to help them put the pieces of the puzzle back together. That's only part of who I am. I mean, I hope that I'm making a difference in my clients' lives. I feel like we do that, and our firm has been doing that for almost 90 years. But, to me, really who I am is who I am as a dad and a husband. And so for me, that is just a large part of what I want to impact the world by impacting my son to be a good person and impacting him with the skills to be successful in whatever it is he strives to do, whether that's on the playing field, in the classroom, and certainly definitely more important than both of them, as a good human being. And so what I think a lot of professionals struggle with, that really want to have a successful, whether that's a law or whatever profession they are in, is how do I balance that? And how can I be a very successful, in our case, trial lawyer or entrepreneur, and balance that and have the time to still be there as a dad? And that is something that I have really focused on since my son was born. And that is, where and when does that fit in? And to me, it's number one. And so if that means getting to the office at 5 o'clock in the morning or on the weekends, and that's kind of where my funny weekend work shirt pictures from years ago started from, was that I would get here at 5 on Saturday morning to work in a wacky shirt and take a picture and, share it out to be fun and share my human side there. But it was because that way I could be home by 10 or 11 before he really got going, and I wouldn't miss any practices or games. And so trying to balance that there, to me, it's super important, because I think, having me there in his life I hope will be a meaningful impact for him for long after I'm gone.
Okay, so can we go deeper on that? Because like I love that you use the word balance. I think that's such a good framing here. And I know like Dan Martell has the thing like, oh, I'm just gonna put in the next 3 years and my kids will appreciate it. You're like your kids don't appreciate the fact that you weren't there for 3 years. So like the definition of that balance is going to be different for all of us.
Sure.
What's the thought process to help other people listen to this figure out their balance between the kids, the work, themselves, spouse, a million other things?
Well, and again, I think it's different for each person. I think each person's situation is different based upon your life stage in terms of financial goals and your interaction with your family, what your people are in your community in terms of in your world. Do you have a lot of grandparents or a lot of close friends that can help get from A to B and doing certain things? And certainly those things are important and very helpful and make it a little easier, the work life balance a little bit easier, and gives you more flexibility with work and do. My wife and I have great families, but where we are now in Huntsville, Alabama, which is in North Alabama centric, kind of central between Birmingham and Nashville for people that are looking at a map, we don't really have any family close by. And so for us, it's just she and I. So like today, he's got baseball practice, even though it's not technically baseball season. They can practice a couple hours a week after school for school ball. And so he's got practices, lifting and practice and all this afternoon. Well, he's not old enough to drive yet. So one of us has got to be up at the school to pick him up at 6:15. Then he's got a hitting lesson at 7:15. And then the rec basketball he's going to play in is practicing at 8:30. So we have coordinated to figure out who's going to get him here, who's going to get him there, and then coordinated to say, okay, let's let one of us come home for the evening after this point to figure it all out. So it's just kind of figuring it out. But to me, Jordan, it's just I feel like he is going to appreciate and do that, and I don't know that he recognizes that yet. But it's so funny, and you'll see as your children get older. I think he does, and I see signs of that indirectly. That if the rare times I've missed anything, you can tell he's like, what, that's not going to be here. What's going on? And I'm
Which is
there,
great
and I'm
versus
trying
the
to,
normal of like, oh, dad's coming to this one game?
yeah. And so I like to be there and do, and I try to, I've gotten better about, keeping my mouth shut and saying anything, doing. I'm just a cheerleader. It's like yesterday, he had a game yesterday, a last tournament of the winter here in travel ball. And all I told him when we got out of the car is I said, have a good time. And that's it. And that's tough and do, because I feel like I want to give some kind of other feedback and do, but I know it's not helping him if I do. And he's locked in. Nobody, that's what I tell my wife when we're upset or like, oh man, he struck out or whatever the case may be. And it's like, look, nobody's more disappointed than him. And so I want him to just feel like he's supported and doing and trying to give him every opportunity to succeed, in whatever it is he wants to do, and more importantly, to succeed as a person. And I feel like he's got a better chance to succeed as a person if I'm there.
I'm in a bunch of online groups, and there's always these people that talk about how miserable it is for their firm and how much they hate running it. And people give some really helpful advice. But I have not come across a book that incorporates all those things in one place. So I wrote it. Stories of some of my coaching clients. In there, though, you're also going to find our specific meeting agendas. You're going to provide how to put together a marketing plan. I really, truly poured my heart and soul into this book. I hope you'll check it out in the link below and enjoy it, and ultimately get a chance to run the law firm you've always dreamed of.
Well, and I love that you talked about like between you and your wife, trading off nights, trading off activities, whatever it was. Because like I go back to like my son, we did not put him in daycare until he was about 2.5, just because he wasn't talking because I knew what he wanted by every grunt. But like I would have him, the entire day, just the two of us, a couple of days a week. My wife would have him the entire day, just the two of them, a couple of days a week. And so like I never thought about it at the time from his benefit, right? Like I liked being able to be dad and lawyer and whatever else. But now I realize from his benefit, like he got to see, his mom have a job and spend time with him, and his dad have a job and spend time with him. Like he got
Mm.
to see this balance, this opportunity. And so, I hope more people do that instead of committing to only work or not work, having that balance inside the family.
Well, I think that's a great point too, because it's teaching your children the responsibilities that we have as adults. And that is the responsibility as a parent and his responsibility as you know, a worker or an entrepreneur or whatever profession they decide to go in. And I think certainly Wyatt appreciates and understands that sometimes dad is pulled in different directions and doing. And you know, the great thing about being, you know, an entrepreneur and a law firm owner is that I have the flexibility most of the time to be able to leave and go and make my own schedule. But at other times he understands that at, you know, the other night at, you know, 8 o'clock or 8:30 when I got home from work, I still had another Zoom call that I needed to have. And he got that. And I walked in and I was like, hey, buddy, I said, hey, dad's got another call. Let me jump on it and do. But he gets that. And he's been around enough to know that. And so I think he understands it helps teach him responsibility. And that I think, you know, in terms of, you know, people say your kids are just sponges and they really are. And I think if you're treating people right and you're showing that and they will emulate that in a lot of their human characteristics. And I think they'll see that in the hard work that you put in and do. And that's true not only in just how you treat people, but also how you interact with your work life. And I think they'll see that, man, hey, it's if I want to be successful, it's going to take some work, and whatever success may look like in their eyes. But I think that they'll see that in mom and dad as well.
Well, it's interesting because, like, you know, you mentioned the having the call at 8:30, and like I'm sure there are people thinking either that's what they do every week, or the ones thinking like, oh, that's terrible. Like I know I swear to you, my son went through probably a 6 month phase where he thought I played golf for a living because I had enough, you know, charity tournaments and I was taking people to Top Golf and, you know, and I was taking lessons at the time, like the whole thing. And so I realized like during that time frame, he didn't realize how much like actual work I did. And so it's cool like when you have those moments where there's that one night or that one event, like showing them, hey, this is what I do. This is the stuff that's going on so that we can support you and, you know, do the fun stuff and take you to the theme park convention and Disney, you know, what the sport games, whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, and I think the other thing too is that is they get a little older and mature more and they become more aware. You can talk to them a little bit about what you do, whatever it is you do, and how, you know, how they can learn from that and engage with that. And certainly Watt doesn't come to my office much and do, but when he was younger, every now and then he would come by the office. If my wife were, you know, during the summer when she wasn't teaching school, they'd come by and we'd go grab lunch, or periodically if something was going on and I needed to get him for the day, somebody might drop him off or do. But, you know, I would always make him go around the office and speak to everybody. And that was intentional, and for lots of reasons. One, you know, everybody at the office wants to see him because we're a big family here at my office, because, you know, they generally want to see him. But secondarily, I think as a parent, one of the things that I tried to do, that now I'm at age 15, I really have seen the fruits of that labor and instilling in him, is that trying to engage him to be a good communicator. And he would laugh. It's so funny, Jordan. He would come up, and my paralegal, Sarah, who's been with me the longest, he would come up and I'd say, "Why? Now you need to go speak to Miss Sarah when you get here." And he's like, "Oh, Dad, she's just going to ask me how school went and tell me that I've gotten taller." And I said, "Yes, and you probably haven't gotten taller since you saw her last, but you're going to engage and speak to her." But now we have so many people in the last year and a half that come up to us and say, he can talk to anybody. And that's not who he was at 6, 7, 8 years old. I mean, he wasn't an introvert by any means. He was always going and running and doing playing sports, but going out and talking, he would give me a hard time. Like I laugh, and when I took him to a basketball game one time when we got home, and my wife asked him, said, "What? How was the game?" "Oh my gosh, Mom, Dad talked to everybody." And so, but that's who I am. Whereas my wife, even though she's a school teacher, she's more of an introvert. She's just got a smaller group, and going to like a conference like you and I went to recently, and we're out mingling and talking to everybody. That's not really her cup of tea. And so Wyatt was bent at a younger age a little bit more like that. And now by getting him out and doing and involving him in things, and like he would be in the car on the weekends a lot of times. And if I got a call from our answering service about a potential client, he might be on the Bluetooth listening what's going on and doing. And then he would naturally start asking me questions about stuff. And so it's kind of fun over the years as he's gotten older to kind of talk a little bit more about what I do, what Dad does for a living, and how we impact people, and the kind of work that it takes and effort that it takes to get there. But again, keeping the balance in mind the entire time.
So you said your son's 15. Was this something that you've been able to do for 15 years, or was this like you had to put things in place to be able to show up like the kind of dad that you want to be?
No, this was intentional for me from day one. That I just decided that I was going to make it happen, and I might still work 70 hours in a work week if I had to. But if that meant that I needed to go, leave, and come back, or work at night when he's in sleep, or whatever the case may be, I was going to do whatever it took to be there. And if that meant I was sleep deprived or had to go the extra mile here or there, whether he appreciated it or not, it meant something to me. And like I said a few minutes ago, I think it will mean something to him as he gets older and do. So yeah, this has been intentional the entire time.
You ever read 168 Hours by Laura Vanderkam?
I have not.
All right, so I think it's my second favorite book about like time management as good life. But like she talks about, I've never heard of a book talk about like the split schedule like that. But she's like, it makes no sense for so many of these young parents to work until 7 and then come home and try to get like 2 hours with their kids. Like come home at 5, spend the 2 hours, and then go back to work. So now like you're getting, you're getting that dinner time, you're getting that key, a better 2 hours for them. The work doesn't matter if you do it at 7 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock at night. And it was just so fascinating because
Mm.
I was like, oh yeah, all right, as we're like we have a kid now and a business, and I hated where our business was when we had a kid. I was like, I'm going down swinging. Like, let's do it. We're gonna split, we're gonna do this split schedule and be here for him. So I love that you had this from day one, like as a focus, because I think a lot of people look up and realize like, oh my God, my kid is so much older. Now it's the time to make them a part of my life. That sounds bad, but ultimately, I think that's where a lot of people are.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and you and I deal with this, and we hear a lot of lawyers talk about this at conferences and in our local communities that we engage with, that they're so busy and do, and that they just can't. They feel like they can't make time, or that their law firm or their legal practice or whatever it is going to suffer if they're not there. If that's the case, then you need to take a second look at how you're running your law firm and do that. There needs to be, you need to have the system set up or the team set up or really all the above such that you can break free and do some of these kinds of things because it's so important. And not only important for them, but important for you as a law firm owner and as an entrepreneur, that you need to be able to have that freedom and that release to get away and do, because it's just so important that we break off, because if we're here and we're locked in 24/7, we're really not here 24/7, and we're not being able to put what our clients need and what our coworkers need and our team needs here if we're not at our top. And I think to be at our top, we need to break away some, get that downtime, that time with our family to recharge and to get back here to be locked in when we're here.
Yeah, I mean, so I found myself transitioning more from the word freedom to the word flexibility because I think like so many of my clients have that guilt associated with having freedom. I'm like, all right, but you have the flexibility to work whenever you want instead of the
Mm.
requirement to work
Right.
forever. That seems to be the easier point because I'm with you. Like it's you're never going to get the time back. And obviously, like there's a component of your clients, their statute of limitations and stuff. But if you have if you can work from home, it gives you the opportunity to be home at 5 to submit stuff at 9 instead of having to stay at the office. So some of those trade-offs I think become huge in terms of a better life.
Absolutely. And like I said, I like the term flexibility too, because it just allows me the opportunity and the ability to make it work. And, different, as I said earlier, different days require different things. And one day last week was, hey, I had to work all night, the late in the hours of the night. But that's the exception to the rule. And but I had the flexibility that, because I've got my wife is a great teammate here, to be able to make that work, and she was able to handle the other things that needed to be handled that night. And it's like, but other times I'm going to make sure that everything else is set up here at the office, that if I need somebody here on my team to take care of something or run with the ball on something, that I've got the confidence in our systems and our team to be able to do that.
Sure. Well, and so like I want to talk about that in more detail. We talked about, having some of these systems, having some of this team in place. What are the most important systems that allow you that flexibility to be an active dad?
Well, I think for me, the first thing I would say, and again, this may vary from firm to firm, and with AI and other things, some of this is probably changing and evolving. But I'm very fortunate, Jordan, to have a great whole staff and team at our law firm. We've got 7 lawyers and probably 16 support staff, somewhere along that lines. And do so, I've got great partners, and we've got great other attorneys here, and a great caring staff. Our firm's been around for 88 plus years now, and then
Clearly,
the
Mo was not there on day one, in case you
no,
can't
no.
tell.
I laugh and tell people I've got gray hair. That's really from Wyatt, not from the practice of law. But the but my direct team that works for me in the personal injury department here at Morgan and Beeson is just unbelievable. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to find the great fits and do, but two of my 3 team members have been with me for years and years and years, and they are just great humans. They're great moms, great wives, great grandmothers now, and both of them were husbands were retired Army, so they have really served our country, and now they're serving our clients. And so for me, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, because I'll tell you, for us, when we started implementing and moving into a better case management software years ago, they were critical in that move, because, as a business owner, and anybody in any profession knows that if you're going to be changing operating procedures, changing softwares or anything, your team's got to buy in, because if your team doesn't buy in and they're not wanting to implement this and do, because nobody typically likes change, then all those things that you're trying to put into place are not going to go very far. And so for me, having the right team in place, when we started putting in these operating procedures, we swapped to Fileline, a case management software that we use and do. Valid point on that is we're starting to trying to implement more AI stuff now. We had some AI training this morning, and I have the peace of mind to know that there's going to be some hurdles to cross and do, but I know at the end of the day, my team wants to implement this, and they're going to help me figure out, and that we literally as a team are going to figure out the best strategies to use AI to help be more efficient, and to help manage and streamline our cases to produce quicker, better, faster, better results for our clients. But it starts with my team, because they are the ones that are going to be integral in making sure these things are going along. So, and we're constantly reviewing these, operating procedures and policies, how we're intaking stuff, how we're managing intake, or how we're managing cases or referrals or whatever it is. And it starts with them, because they're bought in. And so, that's a different, kind of a little bit different conversation. But for me, it's with them, and the procedures and stuff kind of goes back to that too. And that's something else I'd say, not to be too long-winded here, but something for all 3 of my direct team members
Oh,
is
we've got 30 more minutes.
okay.
Take all the time you want.
Well, I was just going to say that to the business owners listening, the law firm owners out there listening, to me, and this is something I've talked with some friends about over the years, is that I think you need to invest in your team. And what I mean by that is I genuinely really care about my workers and my teammates and my staff, but not only about them, but I enjoy interacting with their spouses. I know their kids, and I know their grandkids, and these are things that I'm involved with. To give you an example, you'll love this. So Sarah, my paralegal, has been with me the longest. Her daughter played soccer growing up, but now that she has some grandchildren, her grandson, her oldest grandchild, is a big baseball player now. And so over the years, I've gotten to talk baseball and do this with her. And a couple of years ago, when he started playing in some tournaments and getting those little $5 rings, that all the kids get when they win or come runner up in a tournament. So I've made a suggestion to her about, hey, you need to get this thing so Nico can have this little thing to have his rings in tournament stuff. She's like, what is that? So I sent it to her and showed her. I said, Wyatt's got one of these. He'll love it. I mean, I was a home run for, suggesting that and do, but I'm invested in her, because she and her grandson, and I've talked to him before and talked about sports and all this kind of stuff. So I highly encourage the business owners out there. If you want to be successful, you need to have not only a good team, but if you invest in them and care about what they care about, because then that allows me the freedom. Next week is Thanksgiving week, and I'm taking off next week.
Right.
And so I know that while I'm gone, that they are operating and taking care of everything here because this is their baby just as much as it is mine. And it's because they care, because they know I care about them, and we all care about our clients. And so anyway, that's my 2 cents on team and how I've been able to put it together. I really think it starts with my team. And then going back to the core of it is we have really put a lot of time and energy into our operating procedures and constantly refining how we're doing stuff. And I'm taking stuff, I might talk to you next week on something, and you might say, hey, this is kind of how we're handling this. And I'm like, wait a minute, maybe we want to tweak this, or how we do this, or how we're doing that. So I'm always talking to folks around the country saying, hey, how are you handling this, or what's working for you right now? And we're reevaluating what we're doing.
Well, and I love that you're talking about reinvesting in the team, because I think the easy way, I think a lot of people talk about that from a financial standpoint. And I'm just like, the cost of replacing a good or great team member is insane versus the, small salary bump they were asking for. But then also like having the team but investing in them as people as well. Like I find myself, I want to be very clear, not treating my employees like children, but I have found a lot of commonalities in how I treat my child and how I treat my employees, from that weird balance of like total support, but also interest in their future, but also wanting them to succeed, but also letting them fail the right amount so they learn. Like, you're nodding. Okay, cool, good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, you want to be there for them and do, but and my team would tell you that I'm a micromanager and do, but I've had to pull back and do, because now I trust them. And I know that if there's something there, because I can't do everything. And if I try to do everything, I'm not going to get near as much done, and it's not going to be done as well. And I need to find out where my time's best spent. But it doesn't mean that I sometimes don't have to get down in the weeds with them on certain things, because, I'll tell them often, I says, hey, look, now, if this something needs my attention that is typically within your scope, let me know. Or if we're not doing something, if you find something that the way we're handling something is not the best way to handle it, let me know. Let's reevaluate this. And they'll make suggestions to me, and they know that, most of the time I'll go with it. And they know that if for some reason I don't, there's a reason behind it. And I always tell them that. And it's not, no, we're not doing that. This is why, or this is what I'm thinking. This is why I'm thinking. And so it's kind of a team-led discussion. And certainly I get to make the final decision, because at the end of the day, all stops and starts with me, because my name's on everything. But they are bought in, and what they have to say means a heck of a lot to me, because I couldn't do any of this without them.
Sure. Well, but you're talking about having the trust in them, right? And so trust comes with time. And the same way, like, so my child still watches like Roblox and all that stuff on YouTube, but he started watching food videos on YouTube now, like Gordon Ramsay's kid flying around the country to try the best steakhouses, whatever. So he's like, he wants to cook with me. And so like, he had these plastic knives. We have now like started working on regular knives to cut, strawberries and whatever. So the first couple of times you're right there, I'm standing over him, I'm watching everything. Now I'm like, all right, man, you tell me if, if the knife gets too tough, if there's something there, bring me in, but I trust you to cut a strawberry now. Like, same thing with employees. Like, it's a really good relationship is one that evolves in that manner.
100%. Yeah. And that's the same way as dad do and do. I think it's always evolving and doing. You're trying to create them and give them a skill set to be able to go out and do all these things that they need to do without you having to be there all the time, and hoping that they make the best decisions possible. And certainly as a parent, that's something that, kind of going back to being a dad and the balance, and that's something that we're always concerned with as parents and doing, and hoping that we're equipping them to be responsible in doing. And so Wyatt's learning how to drive and has got his permit. And so, yeah, the first few times I've gotten in the car, and still now, to be honest, I'm a little, cinched up a little bit in doing.
Especially with what we do on, car accidents, you get more terrified.
There comes a time in most firm owners' life where they're ready to make that switch, where it's no longer about survival. It's about how to thrive. It's about how to have the practice they've always dreamed of and the life that they've wanted to live forever. That's what I help people do. I've done it myself, and I've worked with dozens, if not hundreds of other firms to help them implement similar systems. So if you're tired of doing everything and not knowing your numbers and having no idea where your next case will come from and worrying about how to make payroll, and you want to get over those things, click the link below and let's reach out to see how we can work together to help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, he's known that since day one. He's known that, he'll never have a motorcycle, and he's never had a trampoline. And he quit asking for a trampoline at about age 10. And I was nervous wreck taking him to, everybody at that age is going to the trampoline parks and doing, and I'd have to let my wife do those because I just was like, I'm a nervous wreck when I go in there. I'm just waiting for him to, come out with a broken arm or a broken collarbone or something. And knock on wood, it hadn't happened. But
So you and my wife should have a conversation about my child's birthday parties, and like my wife requests their insurance policies and all the waivers, wants to read it in advance and go through. I'm just like, God bless you, dear. That's awesome. Because I would be like, he probably won't die. So too funny. All
too
right,
funny.
let me talk about our newsletter. I'll come back for this. So if you all are watching this when the episode comes out, it's Tuesday. This Friday, our newsletter is why you're still doing too much and how to fix it. Don't get me wrong, I'm still doing too much too. I wrote the newsletter for me just as much as anybody else, but that'll be Friday's newsletter. So coming back here, we've got Mo over here. We're talking about being a good dad, being a good business owner, how to balance those things. I'm curious. Let me assume. I assume your firm has a number of KPIs, key performance indicators, metrics, whatever it is, in place in the firm. Is that a good assumption?
Yes, probably not what we should have, but yes, we do have certain things that we measure and look at on and it varies, from department to department. We have overall things we're looking at from a firm, from our other associates, and because one of the things to kind of for our listeners out there. So we're a kind of what I call a throwback firm, and so we have a old school law firm with multiple practice areas, and then we each kind of have we have certain lawyers that kind of work within each subgroup of practice areas. And so I do the personal injury. We have a big estate planning and probate department. And then we have a real estate department, and then kind of one lawyer that does kind of some family law and criminal law. And so, yes, within each of those categories, we have, KPIs and the overall picture of everything, how the firm's doing.
Do you have similar metrics from the dad side, from the husband side, from the family side?
I don't know that I would say I measure those and do, like I said earlier, I have things that I don't know that I have that in the sense that, I guess big picture, yes. So big picture was, I want to set my son up for success. And I said, what is that in my eyes? And again, each parent's going to be different, right? But in my eyes, one of the things that I've always told him, and we touched on this a little earlier in the conversation, was that I think if you're a good communicator, you set yourself up for success in about everything you do. And so that was something that I really strove to push him towards. And again, some people are more introvert, extrovert, and some of those things you can't teach. And it's just kind of how you're wired, I believe. But I do think there's a lot of those things you do because a lot of people are just uncomfortable talking to other people and doing. So that was something that I did with Wyatt. The other thing that I wanted to work on with Wyatt was being just kind and being understanding of how fortunate he is to be in a position that he can be afforded opportunities to have things that a lot of kids don't have, but be opportunities to experience things in life that a lot of kids just don't have the blessing to do that he does, whether it's going to Alabama game this weekend or going to Seattle to watch the Alabama and Gonzaga play, and then going to watch the Seahawks and 49ers play the next day. Those kinds of things, or going on nice vacations, those kinds of things. So one of the things, if you want to call it a KPI, I've never thought about it like that, but I guess it is, Jordan. And that is, I wanted to teach him that empathy and do. And I think that's very hard to do. I don't know, you can tell someone that. So one of the things that we've tried to do with our son is to put him in positions where he has to volunteer and do some things. So periodically over the course of him growing up, whether that's going with me several times to volunteer at Rotary functions. I'm a proud Rotarian in Madison at our Rotary Club. And so we have the things that, we can bring our kids and bring things to, or if people follow me on social and they know I'm very involved in an organization called Raising Men's Lawn Care Service. and my buddy Rodney Smith, who's out, helping the world one lawn at a time. And he's gotten all these kids from around the world to volunteer to do 50 yards for single moms, disabled veterans, and people in need in their community. And so what he and I have done over the years is we've gone out and volunteered with Rodney. And we go mow yards in communities that White would never probably ever go out and engage in, just because it's not where we live and what we do. And so he has experienced that, and to see him experience that and to get feedback from him has been something that I think has really taught him a lot of things that they just need to be immersed in it somehow, and to find the appropriate way to do that. And he's volunteered to do some other things through sports, through the school. Kudos to our school system for getting the kids to volunteer and go to certain organizations in town to get some volunteer hours. But to give an example, we pulled up at the first house when Watt was about 7 years old. Yeah, sorry for the reference there. And
oh my gosh, please,
I'll stay away from the 6,
well
7.
Played, Mo. Well played.
Thanks. But he was about that age, and we followed Rodney to this house to mow with him. And it was in an underprivileged community. And we pulled up, and he says from his booster seat in the back, he said, "Dad, somebody lives here." And I said, "Yeah, buddy, they do. And we're fixing to help them." And so it was very powerful, just that 10 to 15 second interaction. And then we mow and we get done, and I'm teaching him, how to mow and do, and having to help him push the lawnmower because he's not even quite big enough to push it. And Mr. Hayes, the gentleman whose house who Rodney mows for regularly, comes to the door in his wheelchair, and he starts picking on Watt a little bit playfully, but being so little and out here pushing his yard. And it was just an interaction that I'll never forget. And I know he remembers it. And then I remember another time we went out, and Rodney was mowing the backyard and we were mowing the front yard of this house. And we mowed about half of it, and I took a turn, and then I let him go. And he said, "Dad, kind of satisfying, isn't it?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Just see, look at the yard. Look how good it looks on this side that we've already done, and not the other side that still needs to be doing." He says, "Kind of satisfying." I said, "You know what, buddy? It sure is." And so those are the kinds of things, the appreciations for giving back and helping others that was a KPI for me. And so that was something that I wanted to instill in him. So those are a couple. And then the other for me that I think sports teaches is hard work, determination, resiliency, and teamwork. And so those were things that I learned playing high school and college sports that I think he is picking up and learning. And he has really gained an appreciation for how hard it is to do certain things, to be a good athlete or to be competitive, that it takes a lot of hard work. And that, in baseball, for example, if the old saying, if you can get 3 out of 10, you're in the Hall of Fame. And so it's tough, and he struggles, and he works hard, and he's hitting 4 or 5 days a week. And he's got to learn that. And he's got to learn to pick himself up, and to learn that when you have a failure, no different than us as trial lawyers, that I've got all these cases that I'm handling. And if I have a setback and lost a case or got a poor result on a case, I have got to rally quick, because I got all these other clients that are waiting and need my help. I can't wallow in it too long. I've got to learn from it, and I still feel bad about it. But at the same time, I've got to pick my head up, and I've got to get back out there.
Well, it's interesting. So like when I was a kid, it was the helicopter parent, but now I've heard that the new version is the bulldozer parent, right? Where they go through and bulldoze all the problems for their children. But then you look at like Angela Duckworth telling you the most important thing in kids' success is grit. And so like, how are they going to develop grit if there are no problems? And so like, I love, failure at sports, I think, is a very easy, safe way for them to learn some grit and resilience. And obviously, showing it at work, or showing your kid from what happens at work, becomes huge as well.
Absolutely. No. And I've not shied away from that. The times that we've lost a trial here or had a poor result. And, I've shared that with him here and there within reason, obviously, with the appropriate talks and stuff. But, he gets tired of, he always loves, he's at that age now, Jordan, he's picking on me, which is fun and he's heard me talk about, and other people around me talk about, we won the state championship when I was in high school, my senior year. And he loves to talk about back in '94, Dad, back in '94. He loves picking on me about it, and it's good ribbing. I deserve it. And but I will, occasionally remind him of things. But there are things that I really did, resiliency that I learned then that are serving me today. It's just it's amazing that I think I would not have achieved the things I've been able to achieve if I had not played sports and learned those lessons.
Speaking of, we may have a guest.
Got a guest star? Awesome. Bring
Hey,
them on.
Ben Ben. Oh my gosh, Gaga bought you so many things. Hey.
Gaga bought me a card pack that I already put the cards in.
Oh.
And it came with World Champion 2023 because two of them.
I would love to see them when I'm done. Mo and I are actually talking about how to run businesses while being great dads.
So
So
you're doing a great job, Jordan. Awesome.
All right. As soon as I'm done.
I would definitely know because I'm literally I just know you so well.
I would hope you're my son. So cool, man.
And you are a good dad to me, and it seems like you are a good person for lawyer stuff.
Thanks, man. There we go. See, I got a testimonial I didn't expect in the middle of
Man,
that.
that's a 5-star review right there.
And he's honest, so he would tell me differently. No, I mean, so it was interesting because like when I was asking you the KPI thing, I didn't mean it. I don't expect parents to have KPIs for their children. I meant it from what you were talking about, right? Like, I think it's easy to say, hey, my business had the best year it's ever had. Look at our gross revenue, look at our profit. Whereas with the kid, it's those moments, it's those stories. It's that, oh yeah, my kid running across the field at baseball to like check on some other kid on the other team that got hurt, right? Like we don't have the same metrics. And so I was curious for like, what are the things that help you understand that you are?
Yeah, I think the stories like that I shared and the other numerous ones that we as parents do, we're getting the email. I shared a couple years ago. One time I got an email from my wife did. I got an email from one of the other teachers at the school and was just talking about how Wyatt was so great with one of the kids in his class that was special needs, and he always took care of her and looked after her, and those kind of things. That it's just one of those that it's like, okay, he can be the cool kid and he's definitely that, and he's Mr. Popular, but he's getting the other things that I'm trying to instill in him and just seeing it working. And like I said, do I have I'm sitting here with a legal pad. Do I have a legal pad list of things that when I the day he was born that I wanted to do? No, but were there certain things that I thought that in a big picture world that I wanted him to try to instill in him? Yes. And have I tried to be in some ways thoughtful about presenting opportunities and injecting those things in his life so he can experience it? Yes, I have. Now, don't read me wrong. I don't have some Filevind setup project with White's name on it with KPIs and things on there. Probably should have and do, but there are things that I generally thought in my mind and in my world that I thought would make him or set him up for success. And I've tried to instill those things and provide opportunities for him to experience those things. Yes. And then now it's funny as my son has gotten older, I can look back at those things when my son was your son's age. And now I'm starting to see a lot of those things come to fruition and to do. It's funny. I'm going Wednesday morning. I'm volunteering in his school. He's probably going to be mortified if he knows that I'm coming up there to volunteer. But I'm going to volunteer at his school to do job interviews. They do this from several classes. They offer these mock interviews. And he did this a couple of weeks ago, one of his classes, his career prep class. And listening to him tell me about how it went and what it was, and I won't get off into the details of it, but it was perfect because he was just telling me how he engaged with this person in the community that came to run one of the people that volunteered in that group. And I was like, okay. He gets it. He knows how to talk to people and he knows how to engage. And I was like, it's working. Yeah, hopefully it'll keep going.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's how many kids have been so raised on technology that they can't talk to another person in person.
Absolutely.
Well, so all right, you had mentioned hearing things from other people and implementing them. So I will tell you, I definitively do not have KPIs with my child other than maybe this one. So at the end of every week, I do a 30-minute personal meeting. And so I look through like my weight, my body fat percentage, my workout results, and then I've got 4 questions at the bottom. It's, did I have enough time with my wife? Did I have enough time with my kid? Did I have enough time with my friends? And did I have enough time with myself? And then if no, like, what am I going to do differently about it? So specifically, no hard number, but it is so interesting to have that feedback. And so like, we also just wrapped up a baseball season. And so I'm like, oh, I really like, I didn't realize how much I would enjoy being there with him at baseball, but like not his coach, but I would go, like, I'd play first base so the kids could throw more,
Yeah.
check out the plays and stuff. And so it was interesting, like in my weekly check-ins, I had a bunch of things like, hey, don't be his baseball coach, but you do enjoy going to practice and participating, grabbing some of the fly balls in the outfield so the kids don't have to run too far, those things. So it's nice. And it's always an ongoing journey, right? That's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to just touch one thing on what you just said. I think a lot of people lose sight of that too. And that is for me as a big guy, and to say that for me, that my health is in weight has always been a struggle for me, really, since I stopped playing ball in college. And, I'm up, down, and up again, and proverbial yo-yo, but something I've done the last several years is I really just decided it's just not an option. And I lost my dad, he was 50. And so I'm not far from that age myself now. And I wanted to be able to be there for Wyatt and to be able to go to, like I said, just what you did. I never really coached him, but I was always at almost at every practice. I'd be I call myself the helper dad. And so, I'm snagging fly balls or picking up balls or doing whatever I needed to do or toting equipment or playing catch for the coach when he's hitting fly balls or whatever. And but for me, staying in a healthier exercise routine has been really important for my well-being as a dad, a husband, and a business owner, and a lawyer. And so I feel like that's important. But I also feel like it's important for Wyatt to see that, and he knows that I get up at 4:30 every morning and I'm working out. So this morning he's kind of wiping the sleep out of his eyes and just got out of the shower, and I've already done 10 and a half miles on my Peloton. And so he sees that. And I think that's just kind of, again, one of those things where kind of like what we're talking about, work and doing and balance and all these kinds of things. I feel like he appreciates that without me even saying that and doing. And even though he threatens that he can whip my tail, and to be honest, he probably could. But that's why I started hitting the gym, the weights part of it more lately, just so I can at least have a chance to hold maybe for one round. But I feel like the people, entrepreneurs and professionals, sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. It's not selfish, it's self-care. And I feel like we need to be able to take care of ourselves so we can take care of those around us.
168 hours. That's what all of us have every week. It's interesting to me how many times I talk to firm owners who are struggling to do more, to make more marketing efforts, have more lunches, handle more cases, but ultimately none of us are living a shorter day where we can just create more time. So how do we do that as a business? We can scale up time by hiring more people. We finally created an awesome system, our complete hiring process. We're going to share with you how to incorporate AI and other technology into the hiring process to make sure that you have the best chance to hire the right person. So if that's something you struggle with, click the link below, check out our complete hiring process, and let's get your law firm back on track.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's like whatever that motivation is. And I know like we had Victor Medina on a while ago, and for him, he came to that realization of like, I wouldn't want my kids to work the way that I work. And so that's what like helped him put a lot of that stuff into place. So like I want to be there for my kids, that helps with the health stuff. I think that's awesome, man. All right. So as we get towards the end, let me talk about next week's episode. We'll come back for some wrap up.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, my friend, you got special treatment. Your show's airing tomorrow. So we are going to edit it tonight and get it out tomorrow. Why I don't know, but I've already filmed next week's episode before yours. Normally we don't do it this way. So we've got Kendra Nero on next week. For those who don't know her, she runs Brand Spark Studios, bringing a warm blend of storytelling and strategy to her work. And I'm just going to throw out her. I'm gonna get rid of the rest of her bio because I was just like, every lawyer online that you see and you think that person sounds like a human being, I really want to connect with them, they seem cool, is either doing their own social media, incredibly good at it, or hired Kendra. Like it is not the everybody gets the same post. It is really getting uniqueness out there. And so we're talking about how you can create better content and show up better when you live a better life because you've got better stories, because you've got better images, because you're taking these vacations because your firm's doing well that other people are just, throwing up on Instagram like the important photo shoot. So it was such a great chat. I don't normally get this opportunity because usually I film in order, but this one happened to be able to give a nice shout out to. That being said, I think I would hope that being a great parent would be super important to everybody who knows me, knows you, and is a parent or will be a parent. Any last advice?
No, I think, I think the end is just no regrets, and that is that do you can you at 70 years old, can you go to bed and say, at the end of the day, overall, we always have things, Monday morning quarterback it to bring it back into a sports reference. But at the end of the day, do I feel like that I've done the best that I could with the hand that I was dealt to provide my son all the opportunities that he could, and for me to be involved and engaged to set him up to give him the chance to be successful in life. And again, I don't mean that to be necessarily monetarily successful. His success may be being a coach or to whatever it is that he wants to do, and that's great. But I feel like that's kind of where I want to be with it and trying to find that work-life balance. And again, some days the work-life balance is 90% work and 10% husband and dad. And then other days it's 90% husband and dad and 10% work. And then, but at the end of the day, does it even out? And to me, I'd rather balance it. If I got a balancer to do, I'd rather put a little bit more in the family life. But that's me. Different people have different perspectives and different goals in life and do. And I think you need to do what's best for you personally from a mental and physical standpoint.
But I so echo that from the standpoint of like showing them, right? Like your kid, I don't want your kid seeing you working at 9 o'clock at night every night for anybody, but I don't want your kid never seeing that, right? Like show them that there are different seasons to life. Show them that there are all these things going on because like ultimately like life is as hard as you want to let it be or harder depending upon your situation. And so like sharing losses, being vulnerable with your kids in a way that is age appropriate. Like I think that's what helps them become really well-rounded people.
100%. Yeah, they learn to appreciate these things, and I think we realize this as our children get older, and you hear this as a young parent, but they really do. It's amazing at how much kids absorb and take in, and so I think it's better to hear it from you and see it from you in a positive perspective, work, personal, all those things in between, than them to be getting it in an outside source. And so, my wife and I have tried to do a good job of instilling that and showing that. And I don't want to be, definitely don't want to close out today's conversation without, saying that my wife does the same thing and she's a champ at this. And I think, for us in our household, it's definitely a two-way street, and that he sees that role model not only in dad, but he sees that in my wife, because she is the best school teacher around, and she strives and cares for her kids, but she's at every practice she can be at, and she's at all the games and doing that. So he, just using a baseball reference, he definitely hit a home run when it came to having a mom, and I'm trying to just hit a double for a dad for him. And so, he's definitely got the blessing there to have a mom that's there to provide that good role model for him and to be a sounding board for him, and to keep him in check, because she didn't take any grief off of him. That's one of the things, having a mom as a school teacher, he's got the benefit of having a mom as a school teacher. She knows what's going on and can help shape things and know when things aren't as important as he might be, think they are and do. And so, but he doesn't catch any slack either.
Wonderful. All right. So for anybody smart enough to have been listening for the last almost an hour, who wants to get to know you more, follow you, get more insight, connect with you all for a personal injury case, what's the best way for them to connect?
The easiest way I'd say is to go to my website for my podcast, themoshow.live. If you go there, it's got a link to all of my personal social media handles. Would love to engage with you. And if anybody wants to talk, this is something that I really genuinely mean. For any professionals out there that are wanting to engage about how to set up your and run your own podcast, or how to get yourself and put yourself out there, or talk marketing, or talk the practice of law, I'm happy to do that. I've done that with so many people. I've been so blessed over the years to have lawyers and colleagues from around the country that when I'm diving into, setting up Filevine or AI or whatever it may be, that I'll start picking somebody's brain that's been kind enough to share some time with me. I definitely want to pay it forward, and have done that many times. And it's funny, like everything else, I learn just as much, if not more, when I'm talking with somebody else than I am probably benefit to them. So reach out, be glad to help.
Wonderful. All right, Mo, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to everybody who watched and listened. We'll see you back here next week for Kendra's episode. In the meantime, please, check out the show. Mo has so many good stories and great episodes, and do reach out. Mo really means what he's saying, and I'm so thankful to have you for this past hour.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship.